Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to carrylutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
.1490 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. I am here live at the Ron Paul rally in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on April 22nd, 2012. With me now is Larken Rose, author of The Most Dangerous Superstition. Larken, welcome to the Financial Survival Network.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Larken, why do you think that Ron Paul can do what no other politician in our lifetimes has done and bring back sound money?
Well, as I was just saying across the street at the Fed, the Federal Reserve building there, the fundamentally different thing about his message is that the way to a peaceful, prosperous society is not finding the right people to run our lives and finding the right people to control us and control the money we use and control the banks and all that. What makes his message fundamentally different is that his message is we should control our own lives and control our own wallets and control our own choices and be able to come up with voluntary solutions. You know, currencies that we choose, not currencies that are counterfeit and forced on us by the government. And that fundamental shift in the way people see the world is basically the only way this country is going to get back to freedom and prosperity.
Well, and I agree with you there. However, half the population is receiving some type of federal largesse, some type of federal benefit. How do you get those people to see the light of day that dependency is really destroying their lives?
Well, that's a tough one because it works so well because people don't want to give up what they perceive as free. My approach, to be blunt, is basically guilt trip them. Point out that they're receiving stolen property. And they don't like to think of it that way. But if they realize that whatever they get, the government took from somebody else by threatening to cage that person. Ultimately, that's the game. And to put that in front of people and say, are you really okay with the fact that these free goodies you get, whether it's free healthcare or free, a check every month, whatever it is, it's being taken from somebody else without their consent. That's not the way to be civilized, and it's not the way for a society to be prosperous and happy. It's a way to collapse an economy like the Soviet Union.
But you hear these politicians, especially on the left, but the right is just as bad. But these poor people, they can't take care of themselves. They can't pay for college. They can't pay for medical care. They just can't afford it. We have to help them. What do you say to that?
Well, the assumption behind almost every political ploy is never stated, which is, there are these people in trouble, so we should violently take your money. Instead of, these are people, there's some people in need, we should voluntarily help them. And that, I'm all for that. But the politicians skip the part about, give us the power to control you and take your money by, threat of putting you in a cage if you don't pay up. And if people just realize there is plenty of compassion and there would be a lot more excess wealth for people to give to charities if we didn't have this giant economic parasite draining the productivity out of the people who actually work.
But we see in places like Wisconsin and in Michigan, when you try to restrict the rights of governmental employees and their rights to forcibly take the money from the public treasury in the form of pensions, in the form of free lifetime health insurance, it gets violent. If we don't have a state, how do we control those violent people who want to reach into your pocket and steal your wealth?
Well, the thing is, most people don't want to rob somebody else openly and honestly and do it themselves, but they're more than happy to vote for somebody else to do it, to vote for somebody in office who's going to give them quote-unquote free stuff. So I think the number of people who would, for example, individually feel okay about robbing me at gunpoint is a lot smaller than the number of people who will vote for somebody to rob me. And if you just took that away from them, I think that, the amount of theft, anyone can just compare it now. Compare how much you get taken from you by force by common crooks with how much is taken from you by government crooks. It's not even close. Remove that latter one and prosperity will just boom.
So what about basic functions, or at least functions today that we view as basic to a civilized society, to government, i.e. having a military, having a police force to ostensibly protect you from those criminals, both internal and external to the country? Can we do that on our own, or do we need government for that?
Not only can we do it on our own, we have to do it on our own, because whenever government gets involved, let's take the example of protection. They say, you need us to protect you from criminals, and then the first thing they do is say, we get to take as much of your money as we want, and we'll call it taxation. The fact that people are used to thinking of government controlling the roads or the military or whatever else, people get stuck in the mindset that they have to do that. And no, they don't have to do anything. The politicians don't add any ingenuity, they don't add any resources, they just come in and force their bad ideas on the rest of us. If the rest of us interacted voluntarily and cooperated, we could come up with all sorts of solutions that we agree to, that are worth paying for. Now, you don't have that choice when government comes along. They say, here's our solution, it may be really bad, it may be counterproductive, but you're going to pay for it. The market would do better at absolutely everything, including defense, than the government ever will.
Yeah, well, we certainly all are aware of the failings of any government, and as Winston Churchill once said, democracy is the worst system in the world except for all the others. But isn't there the risk of chaos when you have anarchy, when you have no basic government? Forget about the government that we have today trying to control everything you do, but at least a minimal government there that sole purpose is to protect individual rights.
Well, the thing is, there never has been a government in the history of the world that only protected individual rights, because such a government wouldn't have a monopoly, it wouldn't have the power to tax. There are ways to do those, protection and defense cooperatively and voluntarily. The notion that government has to do those things, history shows that it never, ever sticks to those things. The first thing it does is give itself the power to rob us, and after that, it doesn't have to give us any sort of quality service because we don't have a choice whether to pay for it or not. So even the basic things that people assume, well, it has to do protection, it has to do defense, things like that, it really doesn't. And we have to start thinking outside the box and not thinking that we need a ruling class to do A, B, and C, and realize we just need people acting as people, figuring out ways to do A, B, and C.
Well, you got some good points there, Larken, and I think with the collapse of the existing paradigm, we're going to get to see them in actual motion shortly. To find out more about you, learn more about what you're doing, Larken, where do people find you?
LarkenRose.com, which is LarkenRose.com.
All right, hey, and to hear this interview again and others, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Thanks again for being with us, Larken.
Thank you.